Stop it, uncle. It's paining me. It hurts badly and blood is coming out. Stop it. This is Folktales by Hope. Please subscribe. Amanda sat on the bed in her room, her legs tucked underneath her, gazing outside her window. The air inside the house felt warm, but there was a strange quietness that made her feel a little lonely. Her mom, Mrs. James, was on a phone call with someone from work, speaking in a voice that was serious and a little stern. This was her usual routine. Her dad, Mr. James, was in the sitting room typing on his laptop, his face focused and busy. Amanda often spent afternoons like this, playing games or reading books while their parents were caught up with their work. Sometimes she played with the gatekeeper, Felix. Felix was older than Amanda and she calls him Uncle. Amanda liked this time. It felt peaceful, but today she was feeling a little restless. The toys were boring and the books didn't seem as fun as usual. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. James, left the house because they both had business appointments to keep and she was left all by herself. Amanda decided to go and play with Felix even when she wasn't feeling the urge to go out and play with him. This was so unusual. As she steps into the boys' quarters where Felix stays, she glanced over at Felix, who was watching television because that day was his day off. The TV channel Felix was concentrating on wasn't for people of her age. Uncle Felix, Amanda said, her voice a little hesitant. What are you doing? He leaned forward, eyes bright with excitement. Amanda, look at this. I found this interesting channel on TV, with his hand trying to hold his joystick because it wasn't normal anymore. It was standing. Come see. Amanda scrambled on her feet and padded over to where Felix was. He had found a strange video, something that didn't look like any of the usual cartoons or shows. The people in the video looked older and they were doing something that made Amanda feel little uneasy. They were acting in a way that didn't make sense to her. She glanced at the screen, her heart beginning to race a little. What is this? Felix, she asked quietly, her voice tinged with confusion. Felix, however, didn't seem worried at all. It's probably something for adults and you are going to love it. Let's watch it. Amanda hesitated. The video felt wrong somehow, but Felix was already glued to the screen and enjoying what he was watching. She shifted uncomfortably on the bed. It was just a video, right? Maybe it wasn't so bad. She decided to stay and watch, her curiosity getting the best of her. As the video continued, the people on the screen did things that Amanda couldn't understand. She didn't know the words for what they were doing, but her stomach twisted. The sounds coming from the TV were strange and made her feel uncomfortable in a way she couldn't explain. She glanced at Felix, who seemed absorbed, watching intently and playing with his joystick. As he watched, Amanda's mind raced with questions. Why were they acting like that? Why did it make her feel so uneasy? She thought about her mom and dad, who always told her that there were some things that were only for grown-ups and they didn't tell her more about it. Was this one of those things? She thought as Felix turned to her with an excited smile. It's something meant for everyone, both boys and girls, and it is not bad for you. We should try it too. Amanda's eyes widened. What do you mean try it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Felix was confident, placing Amanda's hand on his joystick. I think it's something we are supposed to do. Let's just try it out, he said to Amanda. Amanda felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She didn't know what to say. Felix then asked her to try touching the joystick again. She wanted to trust Felix, but something inside her told her it wasn't a good idea. She still didn't want to seem scared. Maybe it would be fine. After all, seemed so sure about it. Okay, she said hesitantly, but only for a little while. As Felix started practicing what she has watched on TV, Amanda felt an uncomfortable pain in her body. It wasn't like the games they usually played or the fun things they did together. This felt wrong. It hurt, and Amanda immediately stopped. Tears welled in her eyes. She didn't understand why it hurt or why she felt so upset. She looked at Felix, hoping for an explanation, but he seemed carried away with what he was doing. Uncle Felix, this hurt, Amanda whispered, her voice trembling. Why does it hurt? Felix has no answer to give to her instead. He pulled her clothes and inserted his joystick into her, and it became very painful. As Amanda started crying, what could be heard was her faint cry, "Stop it, uncle, it's paining me. It hurts badly and blood is coming out. Stop it." Immediately, Felix stopped and Amanda was happy that he did because she was about to faint. She stood up and ran into her room crying so hard. She curled up into a ball on the bed, her heart pounding. She didn't know what was happening, but she knew one thing for sure. She didn't want to do that again. It didn't feel like something they should have tried. The next day, Amanda couldn't stop thinking about what happened. Every time she thought about it, her chest tightened. She wanted to talk to someone, but who? Her mother was always busy with work, and every time Amanda tried to talk to her about what really happened, she waved it up, telling her that she was busy. Her mother would always say, "Not now, Amanda. Mommy is working." Amanda felt alone. She didn't want to bother her mother again, but the worry inside her was growing. She wished she could tell someone what had happened, but she didn't know how. What if no one understood? What if they were angry with her for even watching the video in the first place? And also, going to Felix's room, what took her there? What was just a one-day adventure turns into midnight tragedy and betrayal for Amanda, because Felix kept having his way, and this time, not only in his room, since Amanda avoided his room, he always comes to the main house whenever Amanda's parents leave the house. She didn't know who to talk to, and it made her feel even more confused. She didn't want to keep the secret, but she didn't know how to bring it up. The next morning, Auntie Grace, their neighbor, knocked on the door. Auntie Grace was always kind and loved to chat with Amanda. This made her a family friend. She was gentle, and this made Amanda feel safe. And also, she wasn't always busy like her parents. She gives her a listening ear. Amanda was sitting on her bed, staring at the pop roof and also the fluorescent light in her room, when Auntie Grace came over and sat next to her. "What's on your mind, sweetie?" she asked softly, noticing how quiet Amanda seemed. Scared, Amanda hesitated, but then felt a wave of relief. She needed to talk. "Auntie Grace," Amanda began, "I saw something on TV yesterday with Uncle Felix. He told me that it was meant for everyone, both boys and girls. And we tried it and it hurt and blood came out. I don't know if it was bad, but it felt wrong." Auntie Grace listened carefully, her face full of understanding and anger. "Amanda, I'm so glad you told me. You did the right thing by coming to me. What you did was not something meant for children. Felix was wrong to have tried that on you. You are still a child because what you people did was only meant for adults," she said softly. "You should never try something that makes you feel uncomfortable." Amanda's heart fluttered with a mixture of confusion and relief. "Why did it hurt? Auntie Grace, why don't I understand it?" Auntie Grace smiled gently, brushing a lock of hair from Amanda's face. "Sweetheart, your body is still growing, and there are certain things that adults do, but you're not ready for them. You don't need to understand everything right away. What's important is that you were able to speak up, and I promised you that Felix is going to pay for his deeds. Your body is your own, and it's important to keep it safe." Amanda felt a sense of peace wash over her, though she still didn't understand everything. Auntie Grace said, but for the first time since the incident, she didn't feel so alone. She felt hard. Auntie Grace called the police as they arrested Felix for his wicked deed. Later that afternoon, Auntie Grace spoke to Amanda's mom, Mrs. James, explaining what had happened. Amanda's mother listened carefully, filled with regret that she couldn't stand up for her child when she needed her the most. Amanda. Her mother began gently with tears in her eyes. I'm glad you spoke up, sweetheart. It is so important that we talk about things that make us feel confused or uncomfortable. What you saw was something meant for adults, and I'm sorry you had to go through the pain in Felix's hand, and I am really sorry for neglecting you and not showing that motherly concern. Amanda nodded, relieved that her mother wasn't angry, and she also promised to show her that motherly love. I didn't like it, Mom. It hurt, she said softly. Her mother hugged her tightly. I'm so sorry, darling. You're right. There are things that are just for grown-ups and you're not ready for them. You should never do anything that feels wrong to you. And it's always okay to ask questions. I promise to take good care of you and always put you first before my work. You can come to me with anything, anytime. Amanda smiled softly. As time went on, Amanda's mother decided to take some break off work, learning that her daughter is growing up and she needed to learn more about sex education. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating stories like this one.